This cat attacked every veterinary technician who tried to treat him. This police dog nearly killed a worker in an emergency room, and this pit bull mauled multiple workers in a sudden rampage. These are the shocking stories of animals that went completely psycho at the vet. Max, the fractious cat. The emergency corridors of Dove Lewis Emergency Animal Hospital in Portland, Oregon, had seen their share of difficult cases, but nothing quite prepared the staff for the feline fury they were about to encounter. Max, a domestic cat with a notorious reputation, had already been dismissed from 2 previous veterinary clinics due to his fractious nature, making him a walking nightmare for any veterinary professional brave enough to attempt treatment. In July 2012, Max arrived presenting with alarming symptoms, vomiting and unexplained weight loss that demanded immediate intervention. The veterinary team, led by Megan Brashear, a certified veterinary technician, CVT, and veterinary technician specialist in emergency and critical care, VTS-ECC, along with her assistant Sarah, knew they were walking into a potential war zone. Their preparation resembled a military operation, complete with specialized restraint tools including a cat muzzle, thick blankets for wrapping, and diagnostic equipment. The team's approach emphasized low-stress techniques, carefully disassembling the carrier for easy access rather than dragging the cat out, hoping to avoid triggering Max's explosive temperament. But from the moment they began, Max immediately exhibited defensive behaviors, growling loudly and attempting to retreat, signaling high stress. The atmosphere in the room grew thick with tension as every movement became a calculated risk. During the head control phase, Megan secured Max's neck with a firm but gentle hold to control his head, avoiding aggressive scruffing that could impair breathing. The muzzle application required nerves of steel as Max resisted with everything he had, struggling and growling while attempting to swipe at his captors. The brief moment when Max went limp, allowing the team to weigh him at 14 pounds, provided only a false sense of security. The true terror emerged during the blood draw procedure. Using a 23-gauge butterfly catheter for minimal trauma, the team proceeded with extreme caution. Then, disaster struck. Max managed to dislodge his muzzle, creating a high-risk moment where he could have bitten if not quickly. Re-secured. Staff communicated urgently, "I'm losing it," allowing others to adjust, averting a full attack. Recognizing the escalating danger, sedation via dexdomitor was administered. The entire ordeal lasted approximately 10 minutes of pure veterinary hell, but ultimately the team successfully treated him without any injuries to staff or Max. If you thought Max's veterinary rampage was insane, this next dog's clinic mauling spree will show you what true animal madness looks like. Buddy, the pit bull mauler. What started as a routine Tuesday morning at Tinley Park Animal Hospital in Tinley Park, Illinois would forever be etched in the memories of those who survived one of the most vicious animal attacks ever recorded in a veterinary setting. February 21st, 2014 seemed like any other day until Buddy, a pit bull owned by Heather Hansen, arrived for what should have been a simple post-surgical suture removal. The deception began immediately. Buddy appeared calm and cooperative, with no prior documented aggression at the clinic. Veterinary technicians Lisa Goolsby and Rebecca approached the procedure with routine confidence, completely unaware that they were about to become victims of an unprecedented assault.
He was very jumpy, very happy in the room to begin with, and I had asked her previously how he was with people, and she said great. So when I was checking for the sutures and told her that he didn't have any, she said, well, he should have some.
The attack erupted with horrifying suddenness.
I stopped touching him, but I didn't want to move and cause attention to myself. And as soon as, 5-10 seconds were up, he turned around, he just lashed onto my face. And so while I tried to stand up, he let go. He got my left arm because he was coming at my face again.
The nightmare continued as another technician entered the room, unaware of the carnage that awaited. A second staff member attempted to restrain Buddy, but was also attacked, leading to multiple bite wounds. The chaos reached its peak as blood covered the floor and walls while emergency services were called. The dog was still charging at the door, ramming it even after the human victims were evacuated. The technicians sustained severe injuries, requiring hospitalization, stitches, and possible surgery for bite wounds. Buddy was seized by Cook County Animal Control and quarantined. In April 2014, owner Hansen was fined $250 in an administrative hearing. By June 2014, Buddy was legally declared vicious but not euthanized immediately. The owner fought to save him. Buddy's solo attack was terrifying, but this next pack of hounds went absolutely berserk and turned a peaceful animal sanctuary into their killing field. The Hunt Hounds Rampage. September 27, 2020, dawned as what should have been another peaceful day at Tendercare Boarding Kennels and Cattery in Burnhope, County Durham, UK. The family-run facility, operated by Debbie Doyle and her husband, housed approximately 50 cats in its Cattery section, including both boarded pets and rescues. The surrounding countryside seemed tranquil, but beneath this pastoral facade, a hunting pack was about to unleash absolute pandemonium. The Braes of Derwent Hunt, a registered pack based in nearby Consett, was conducting a trail hunt that day, a legal activity simulating traditional fox hunting by following an artificial scent trail. The hunt involved around 20-30 foxhounds, led by huntsmen on horseback, following what was supposed to be a carefully controlled exercise. However, factors such as poor control, weather conditions, it was a windy day, potentially dispersing scents, or the hounds picking up unintended animal scents would soon turn this routine activity into a nightmare of unprecedented proportions. The catastrophe began when the hounds, while following the scent trail in adjacent fields, suddenly veered off course. Witnesses reported the pack becoming excited and scattering, possibly after detecting cat scents from the nearby cattery. Huntsmen attempted to call them back with horns and whips, but the hounds ignored commands, entering the perimeter of the Tendercare facility through an open or weakly fenced area. The invasion was swift and merciless. The hounds burst into the outdoor runs and enclosures of the cattery, creating immediate chaos as Debbie Doyle, who was on site with customers collecting pets, heard barking and commotion. The dogs rampaged through the grounds with savage intensity, knocking over fences, bins, and equipment, while cats in outdoor pens panicked, hissing and fleeing as the hounds chased them aggressively. The true horror reached its peak when one hound grabbed and killed a rescue cat named Sparky, shaking it violently in front of horrified witnesses, including Doyle and customers. Other cats were chased up trees or into hiding spots, with some sustaining injuries from the relentless pursuit. Desperate human intervention followed as Doyle and staff rushed to intervene, shouting and using brooms or sticks to herd the hounds away. The entire event lasted about 15 to 20 minutes, leaving behind fences broken, pens damaged with estimated repair costs around $1,000, and at least one cat killed. Those hunting dogs were wild, but this next big cat's veterinary visit proves that even sedated predators can go completely psychotic without warning. George the Malaysian tiger. Deep within the secure corridors of Henry Dorley Zoo in Omaha, Nebraska, February 11, 2009, marked what should have been a routine medical examination for one of the facility's most prized residents. George, a 12-year-old male Malaysian tiger weighing about 200 pounds, had been at the zoo since birth as part of a critical breeding program for this critically endangered subspecies. The massive feline had earned a reputation as being laid back and cooperative in past procedures, making him seem like the perfect patient for routine veterinary care. Dr. Douglas Armstrong, a 57-year-old veterinarian with 23 years at the zoo, approached the annual medical exam with the confidence that comes from decades of experience. These examinations were standard protocol for captive big cats, involving sedation, blood draws, vaccinations, and physical checks to detect issues like dental problems or infections. The procedure was scheduled in the tiger's holding area, a secure indoor enclosure away from public view, with a team including Armstrong, assistants, and possibly keepers. The initial stages proceeded without incident. Sedation was administered via DART, using a combination of anesthetics like ketamine and xylazine, standard for big cats to ensure safety during handling. George was darted and fully anesthetized, allowing the team to perform the exam safely. Procedures included blood work, vaccinations, and a physical check with everything proceeding normally. The nightmare began during what seemed like the safest phase of the entire procedure. As George began emerging from sedation, still groggy but regaining awareness, Armstrong was monitoring him closely. In a moment that would forever change the veterinarian's life, while adjusting equipment or checking vitals, Armstrong inadvertently brushed George's whiskers with his right forearm. This seemingly innocent contact triggered an ancient predatory reflex that even heavy sedation couldn't suppress. George reacted instinctively, clamping down on Armstrong's forearm with his jaws. The bite was described as a chomp rather than a mauling, lasting briefly but causing deep lacerations due to the tiger's canine teeth. Armstrong pulled away, with assistants intervening to separate them using poles or distractions. George released quickly, remaining in a semi-sedated state without further aggression. The incident lasted seconds, confined to the holding area. Armstrong sustained serious injuries, deep puncture wounds and lacerations on his right forearm, requiring stitches, antibiotics, and monitoring for infection. He was hospitalized briefly, but recovered fully, returning to work without long-term impairment. While George snapped reflexively, this next trained attack dog went totally unhinged during what should have been a simple boarding stay at the vet. Vulp the Police K9. The summer heat of Sherman, Texas hung heavy in the air on July 10, 2023, when Texoma Veterinary Hospital became the scene of one of the most controversial animal attacks in recent memory. Sherman Police Department K9 Vulp, a trained police dog, was being boarded at the hospital while his handler was on vacation. What should have been a routine boarding arrangement would soon transform into a nightmare that would leave a young kennel technician fighting for her life. Mackenzie Harmon, a 21-year-old kennel technician at the hospital, had taken every precaution she could think of before accepting responsibility for Vulp's care. According to a Change.org petition, Harmon had asked the handler for specific care instructions before boarding, including whether to use the dog's specialized equipment, leash, choke, and pinch collar. The handler's response would later become a source of bitter controversy. He reportedly took the equipment back, saying, "I'll just take it," implying the clinic would treat Vulp like a regular pet. Police canines are trained for apprehension, which can include controlled biting, making them potentially more reactive in non-police settings if not handled with specialized equipment. The hospital's routine for boarded animals includes scheduled potty breaks to allow relief outside, and it was during one of these seemingly innocent walks that disaster struck. Harmon leashed Vulp using standard clinic equipment and took him outside to a designated area for relief. Vulp appeared compliant at first, walking normally without signs of aggression. Then, without warning, Vulp turned on Harmon, knocking her to the ground. He began biting her arms repeatedly, tearing and ripping at the flesh. The attack escalated to horrifying proportions as Vulp released her arm momentarily, but then lunged at her face, grabbing the right side. He tore her eyelid almost completely off, punctured a hole in her cheek, and inflicted multiple bites to her eye area, ear, hands, and arms.
I just choked it until he finally let go, and I just kept it, and then I was able to slip out and close the door.
Okay. How long would you estimate he was on the bite for? Could you guess?
2-3 minutes at least.
After about 15 minutes, a colleague heard the commotion, rushed outside, and physically pulled Vulp away, ending the mauling. Harmon suffered severe injuries, 35-40 puncture, wounds, a torn tear duct requiring surgical removal, nerve damage to her face, a nearly severed eyelid, and a cheek puncture. She underwent surgery and faces up to 2 years of recovery. That police dog's savage attack was brutal, but this next case shows how veterinary visits can drive even gentle animals into deadly panic mode. Diesel's tragic escape. Birmingham, Alabama's Cahaba Valley Animal Clinic had welcomed countless pets through its doors for routine checkups, but May 21, 2025 would forever be remembered as the day that a simple veterinary visit ended in heartbreak. Diesel, a 5-year-old, 60-pound mixed-breed dog, described as sweet but nervous around strangers, arrived with his loving owners, Katie and Dominic Santoro, for what should have been a standard checkup. Diesel had been adopted from the Humane Society at 6 weeks old and lived a happy life with the family, including their 3 children in Shelby County. His rescue background meant he carried the typical anxieties of many shelter dogs, but nothing in his history suggested the tragedy that was about to unfold. The clinic's lease prohibits fencing, which later factored into escape risks, as outdoor areas lack barriers, creating a potentially dangerous situation for nervous animals like Diesel. The Santoros dropped Diesel off without incident, expecting a quick visit. Following routine protocol, staff prepared for the break using a standard collar and leash, not anticipating issues. The clinic's standard practice included scheduled relief breaks for dogs to relieve themselves outside, supervised by experienced staff members who had performed this routine countless times before. The disaster began during what should have been the safest part of Diesel's visit. After his checkup, a clinic team member leashed Diesel with his collar for an outdoor potty break in the unfenced area. Diesel was calm indoors, but became anxious outside. The change in environment, combined with his naturally nervous disposition, created the perfect storm for catastrophe. While walking, Diesel got spooked, possibly by a noise or movement, and bolted, breaking loose from the staff member's grip. He then slipped out of his collar entirely, freeing himself completely. The staff member attempted to recapture him immediately, but failed as Diesel ran toward the clinic's perimeter. The absence of fencing meant there was no barrier between the terrified dog and the busy thoroughfare beyond. Diesel fled the property, heading toward nearby US Highway 280, a busy thoroughfare. Clinic staff pursued on foot and by car, searching the area extensively but unable to locate him amid traffic and terrain. Diesel reached the highway and was struck by a vehicle, suffering fatal injuries. The family discovered his body the next morning on the roadside. Katie stated, "To lose him in such a tragic and unexpected way has really devastated us and the boys." While Dominic recalled, "His last hours on Earth, he was scared and suffered the unthinkable." The children said goodbye at the clinic. Diesel's tragic escape ended in death, but this next patient went completely feral and nearly murdered his veterinarian in the most savage way possible. Dr. Martin's nightmare. The evening shadows were beginning to lengthen across Springwood Veterinary Clinic on Old Waynesboro Road in Hephzibah, Georgia, on August 17, 2023, when what should have been a routine medical procedure transformed into a scene of unimaginable brutality. Dr. Emily Martin, who had purchased the clinic from Dr. Graddus in November 2022, had built her reputation on compassionate animal care, often picking up stray dogs from roadsides and helping with rescues. Her dedication to animals would soon put her own life in mortal danger. Dozer, a pit bull mix owned by Pamela Farrow, was brought to the clinic for treatment of eye issues, possibly requiring surgery. What made this case particularly ominous was Dozer's prior aggressive incident in March 2023 in Aiken County, where he attacked someone at his residence. Despite this violent history, the clinic accepted Dozer for care, with staff preparing for sedation in the clinic's yard with multiple team members present, including office manager Crystal Leslie. The horror began during what should have been the safest phase of treatment. Staff muzzled Dozer and positioned him for sedation to address his eye issues. Then disaster struck with shocking suddenness. As sedation was about to begin, Dozer's muzzle came off or was dislodged. He suddenly turned aggressive, latching onto Dr. Martin's arm with his jaws. The force pulled her to the ground, dragging her nearly 7 feet across the yard.
And I'm talking, he didn't bite her, he mauled her, he attacked her multiple areas.
Her arms, her legs all have scars she can never get rid of.
And I pulled him off of her and he turned and looked at me, so I jumped up on this picnic table and he just starts walking as calmly as he can.
Not barking, not growling.
And he's just daring anyone to come down.
Just quiet.
One staff member punched and kicked Dozer to intervene, but the dog circled the area, daring others to approach. Dozer eventually became tangled in his leash, allowing staff to secure the area. First responders and Burke County Animal Services arrived. Dr. Martin sustained severe injuries, torn tendons requiring surgery, deep lacerations to her head, legs, and arms, nerve damage, and permanent scars. She was hospitalized and restricted from arm movement for 6 weeks. Dozer was quarantined for 10 days, then classified as vicious under Georgia law. That crazy dog nearly killed Dr. Martin, but this next incident unleashed dozens of animals who went absolutely mental inside a shelter facility. The Austin Pets Alive break-in. The overnight hours between August 13 and 14, 2025, hung heavy with the oppressive Texas heat as Austin Pets Alive Town Lake Animal Center at 1156 West Cesar Chavez Street settled into its nighttime routine. The facility houses hundreds of dogs, cats, and other animals, focusing on rescue, rehabilitation, and adoption, with an on-site security officer, but no additional overnight staff monitoring. What should have been another peaceful night for the vulnerable animals in their care was about to become a nightmare of unprecedented chaos and violence. The intruder, described as a man in surveillance footage, had no known prior connection to the shelter. His motives remained unclear, though similar break-ins at animal facilities sometimes stem from misguided rescue attempts or vandalism. What was certain was that his actions would trigger a domino effect of violence that would leave one animal dead and several others fighting for their lives. The break-in began with calculated destruction. The man forcibly entered the facility, damaging the keypad system on the door to gain access to the kennel areas. Once inside, he proceeded with what can only be described as an act of pure malevolence. He released the majority of dogs from their kennels, opening all gates, allowing them to roam freely. This led to immediate altercations and fights among the dogs due to territorial stress and lack of supervision. The chaos escalated further as the intruder walked away with 2 dogs, heading to a nearby bar. There, 2 people convinced him to hand over the dogs. Meanwhile, back at the shelter, the released dogs caused havoc, with fights resulting in injuries and 1 fatality. The overnight security officer attempted to contain the dogs but failed to notify APA staff until 6 a.m. on August 14th. Several dogs went missing initially amid the confusion. Austin Police Department responded to burglary reports at 5:19 a.m., documenting the scene with no immediate arrests made. 1 dog died from injuries sustained in fights, 5 others were injured but stable and receiving care. All cats remained safe and unharmed. Initially, 2 dogs were missing, but they were located and returned after the people who received them posted on the Austin Lost Pets Facebook group. APA staff arrived at 6 a.m., assessing damage and treating animals. The shelter urged tips via 512-663-8643 and enhanced security reviews. After all that bloody carnage, this next Street Dogs Veterinary Clinic invasion will shock you with a completely different kind of animal madness. The Brazilian stray dog heist. In the bustling environment of a veterinary clinic in Brazil, staff members were enjoying what they thought would be a peaceful break from their demanding work. The exact date is not documented in available reports, but the video and related articles date back to around August 15, 2022, when this incident was first shared on platforms like DogHairs and YouTube. Stray dogs are a common issue in Brazil, with estimates indicating millions of strays roaming urban and rural areas, often scavenging for food due to lack of resources or abandonment. The clinic staff were on a break, possibly lunchtime, leaving the premises temporarily unattended or with minimal supervision. A bone or treat, potentially left out from a previous animal procedure or as a staff snack, was accessible near an open door or window. The stray dog, described as clever and opportunistic in reports, appeared to have wandered near the clinic, drawn by smells from the facility. The canine criminal was about to execute what would become one of the most audacious veterinary clinic heists ever recorded. The stray dog, a medium-sized mixed breed, approached the clinic's open or unlocked door during the staff's break. Attracted by the scent of the bone, possibly a rawhide or animal treat left on a counter or floor, the dog cautiously entered the premises without resistance, as no one was present to deter it. The brazen intruder moved with the confidence of a seasoned thief, navigating the unfamiliar territory with remarkable stealth and determination. Once inside, the dog quickly spotted the bone and snatched it in its mouth. Reports describe the dog as helping himself to a little snack, moving stealthily but confidently, indicating prior scavenging experience. This wasn't just random mischief. This was a calculated operation executed with military precision by a four-legged mastermind who knew exactly what he wanted and how to get it. As the dog grabbed the bone, it startled returning staff members who entered the room shortly after. The sudden presence of the stray caused brief panic, with staff reportedly shouting or backing away in surprise, fearing the dog might be aggressive or diseased. The dog, bone in mouth, bolted out the door, avoiding confrontation but leaving the staff scared and the clinic in minor disarray. Staff recovered from the shock without pursuing the dog, as it fled successfully with the bone. The clinic likely resumed operations immediately, with staff sharing the footage as a funny anecdote. The bone was lost, and the stray dog escaped unharmed. The Brazilian thief was harmless, but this next waiting room predator went completely psycho and committed murder right in front of horrified pet owners. The Vestal veterinary tragedy. November 24, 2024 was supposed to be just another busy Sunday at Vestal Veterinary Hospital's walk-in clinic in Vestal, New York, where pet owners routinely lined up with their beloved companions for urgent care without appointments. The clinic was handling a high volume of patients, with owners and pets queued outside or in the waiting area. Vestal, in Broome County, has animal control laws under New York State requiring leashes and owner responsibility for attacks, but what was about to unfold would test the limits of any safety protocol. In the waiting line stood two dogs whose paths would intersect in the most tragic way possible. The large dog, breed unspecified, but described as significantly bigger, possibly a large breed like a Labrador or mix, was brought in for unknown reasons, accompanied by its owner. Nearby, the smaller dog, a tiny breed, was also waiting with its owner. No prior aggression history for either dog is reported, and witnesses described a typical busy scene before the attack, with no immediate signs of tension brewing in the cramped waiting area. Veterinary experts note that waiting rooms can stress animals, triggering territorial or predatory behaviors, and this afternoon would prove that theory with devastating consequences. The clinic's policy likely required leashes, but proximity in lines can still pose risks, especially when larger predatory breeds encounter small, vulnerable animals in high-stress environments. The attack occurred with shocking suddenness in the waiting line, lasting moments but described as gruesome by witnesses who would be forever haunted by what they witnessed. Pets and owners lined up outside or in the vestibule for walk-in services. The large dog and smaller dog were in close proximity, both leashed, with owners managing them routinely. No barking or growling was noted initially. Without clear provocation, possibly due to eye contact, movement, or stress, the large dog lunged at the smaller one, breaking free or overpowering its leash hold. It grabbed the smaller dog by the neck or body, shaking it violently in a predatory manner common in canine attacks. Clinic staff and owners intervened, pulling the large dog away using leashes and physical force. Animal control was called during the chaos, arriving to secure the scene. The waiting area became a crime scene as the large dog was restrained and seized by authorities. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.